It's absolutely necessary that conservatives go to war every day and hold the people who are in charge accountable for what they're doing. And in Annapolis, our job is to hold them accountable, to make them defend what they're trying to do and explain it so people that are paying attention, and we wish more people paid attention, but we're trying our best to work on that, but to make them explain and be accountable for the decisions that they make. The biggest problem for the General Assembly, for us as Republicans as a whole, it's been fully co-opted by extreme, hardened lefty radicals who often they act immune to any kind of public pressure, even public pressure, frankly, coming from a lot of their constituents, because those constituents may not be, Democratic primary voters. They may not be the loudest people on social media. They seem to only care about, the vast majority, not every one of our Democratic colleagues, but the vast majority of them seem to really only care about what different radical groups think. And that was very clear, particularly in the discussions about crime and law and order. And they were all emboldened by the last election. They were emboldened. They believed it was an endorsement of their way of looking at things. It was helped by some pretty bad gerrymandering too, but they believe that was an endorsement of their policies.
We take pride in really speaking for you in an environment that is against everything that most of the people in this room care about. And that's our job. And I will never not stand up and do that for you. I serve now on the Economic Matters Committee, so I'm going to touch on some of those bills today. After 6 years of Ways and Means, I have blueprint PTSD, so I was happy to get a little bit of a break, but I do know, and I appreciate our school board members here, there's still a lot that needs to be addressed and done dealing with that, certainly with the funding and other things. But back to blueprint, which never seems to go away. By 2028, we're looking at a $1.5 billion deficit. And we all know what that means. Taxes are going to go up. There's no other way to pay for these things. So that's...
It is so critical to have a strong, thriving central committee. When we hear about all the challenges we're faced with as a Republican Party, one of the most important fundamental elements of their party is for our central committees to attract, register, and expand their roles. We are severely outnumbered in the General Assembly, which is reflective of our voter registration. And I think all of us in this party have seen party members potentially bleed off to the unaffiliated column. And in the long term, I think it's our objective as a party to trying to attract more people back into our ranks so that we have a greater footprint and force going into the General Assembly. And it's important for us to maintain our dignity, argue the arguments properly, and I think both Senator West and Senator Reedy shine at that. We need to be gentlemen and lady legislators to accomplish as much as we can. I've learned a lot. I realize they hold their bills hostage. If you're a rural county such as Carroll County, a lot of our local bills get held up to the end.
I did manage to get 2 bills passed, which I'm pretty happy about. And those 2 bills, one's a little more technical, has to do with state procurement, and everyone's eyes are rolling back when I say state procurement. But the other one I think is really important and will hopefully be able to help us as a party, especially with municipal elections coming up in a few weeks here. The bill had to do with, currently, if you want to go on and see the election results of commissioner races, the legislative races, governor, president, whatever, you go to the State Board of Elections and you can see the election results going back to like the 90s or 80s, I don't know, it goes back pretty far. But municipal elections, there's no place to find election results. You pretty much have to search newspaper archives from a few years back, but it's very hard to find it. So anyways, my bill, which passed, now requires all 157 municipalities, so everything from Baltimore City to Union Bridge, have to send over their election results to the State Board of Elections, and they're going to get posted there on the State Board's website till the end of time. And that will really help, because the first thing you do when you're going to run for municipal office, or any office, is you go on to figure out, okay, well, how many votes do I need? What were the election results last time? Well, fun fact, you really couldn't do that with municipal elections for the most part. It was very hard. So anyways, that passed, so hopefully that will help with getting a couple things.
But the challenge that we have, and the guidepost with that, was that think it was Delegate Carroll's reference, we have a structural deficit that hits us very hard in 2027. And it gets worse every year. And I also think that is a very conservative effort or estimation that it's going to take until 2027. There was a revenue write-down of this year that came like the 11th hour of $400 million that was not projected the first day of session, and 85 days later they told us, oh, we were $400 million off for this coming year. And I asked in the committee to our Board of Revenue Estimates, I said, what's the context around about recession? Is that assuming like a soft recession? He responded with a very soft recession. So that assumes that things do not get bad. So I think the challenge that we really have coming up in the next couple of years, which we as Republicans will have to do a really succinct and consistent and effective across unanimous approach to, is to message that we need to be attacking spending on the spending side and not asking Marylanders to fork over more money to cover the deficits that are out there.
Very impressed. It's only in Carroll County that you get a crowd this big at this hour on a Saturday morning. And if I tried to do something like this in Baltimore County, I might have 3 people with their eyes barely open, unshaved, showing up. So this is great. The problem this year was every single Democrat who ran for election last year, ran for re-election last year, won. We had spent 4 years, Justin and I and the other Republicans, saying, you know, you're voting on so many of these ultra-liberal measures, you better watch out because the voters are going to hold you to account. Well, the answer is we ran such a bad campaign last year, we didn't hold them to account. Every single one of them won, and they all feel empowered. They feel like they survived, nothing bad happened to them, and so when their advocates come to them and say, well, we want you to double down on extreme left-wing legislation, their response is right on. And that's what we saw this year, a doubling down on left-wing legislation. Simply stated, we screwed up last year, big time. Republicans screwed up. We failed to field a team which could command the support of the majority of the voters across the board, from the top all the way down. As a result, we lost 2 Senate seats, we lost seats in the House, we lost county executive seats we should have won, we lost. And that was the message of last year. And the Democrats have now realized that they can do whatever they want to and get away with it. And that's exactly what they're doing. So when we talk about these bad bills, that's why they're being passed, because we screwed up and failed to field candidates who could win a majority of the vote. And you're the Republican Center Committee who's sponsoring this breakfast. Your job in the next 3.5 years is to come up with a team, not only in Carroll County, but statewide, that can win elections rather than lose elections. I don't think, if I called for a show of hands, how many people like to lose elections? I don't think many hands would go up. So our job is not to lose elections, it's to win elections starting from now on.